Welcome to the eCommerce podcast with Matt Edmondson, a show that brings you regular interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.
Hi, and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. Welcome to season number 9 of the eCommerce podcast. Can you believe we're on season 9 already? It is incredible. If you are a long-time listener to the show, a huge thank you for supporting us throughout the last 9 seasons. And if you are a new listener, welcome. Welcome to season number 9. Things, as they say, are gonna get better. Yes, I think there's a song about that. All of this week's notes and links can be found at ecommercepodcast.net/90. Now, in the future, you'll be able to take a selfie and get paid for it. Did you know that? Well, okay, we know the world changes fast, but maybe not that fast that we are actually getting paid to take selfies. But it is always fun, isn't it, to think about what could happen in the future. So in today's show, we'll be talking about what e-commerce might look like in 2022. Does that sound exciting? Don't go anywhere.
Hey there, are you a business owner? Here at Aurion Digital, we know firsthand that running an e-commerce business can be really hard work. As the online space gets more competitive, it is becoming even more challenging to stay ahead of the curve. We totally get it. So we want to help you succeed by offering a wide range of services, from fulfillment, marketing, customer service, and even coaching and consulting, just so that you can do what matters most. Save yourself the time and the money and let us handle the day-to-day tasks. This way, you can run your business without having to worry about the boring stuff. So what do you say? Are we a good fit for each other? Come check us out at auriondigital.com and let us know what you think.
Thanks for joining us on the e-commerce podcast. It is great that you are here. Now, whether you are just starting out, whether you're new to this whole e-commerce thing, or whether, like me, you've been around since Noah and have been around a little while, the goal of this show is simply to help you, regardless of what stage of your e-commerce journey you're at. Let me tell you, I've been around e-commerce for a long old time, and I learn stuff every time we talk to amazing guests. Yes, we do, because that's how we do this show. Every week, we mix great show sponsors with phenomenal guests who are experts in their own field with their own stories and insights, with principles that can help us start, adapt, and grow online. And today is no exception right here. Season number 9. To kick us off, we have a fab conversation with Kenny Gray, who is the founder of Grayt Media. Now, Grayt spelled Grayt because it's a play on his surname. Took me a little while to figure that out. I'm not the sharpest tool in the book, or sharpest tool in the box when it comes to things like that, but I did finally figure it out. Now, Kenny is a digital marketing guru who has successfully scaled multiple e-commerce brands to consecutive 6- and 7-figure months. Yes, he has. Now, he provides holistic perspectives and solutions that break through the digital space. His ability to anticipate changes in the market, analyze the back-end user experience, and ensure the strategic vision is executed on all fronts impeccably makes him a valuable asset to any business. Now, Kenny and his team are passionate about helping businesses find their one-of-a-kind message, and today you will see that. Oh yes, you're going to pick that up in spades, let me tell you. He is here today to provide some insights on how to create search and social ad strategies that boost awareness and drive conversions. Kenny's ability to be able to utilize Facebook and other social media channels, because there are more out there, aren't there, has been proven to scale e-commerce businesses and Shopify stores alike. So, great way to kick off season 9. Here we go. First episode of the new season. Here is my conversation with Kenny Gray. So with us today is Kenny Gray, founder of Grayt Media. Have I pronounced that right? Grayt Media?
So it's actually a play on words. It's going to be Grayt Media. My last name's Gray.
Ah,
It was a quick decision. We added a T. It's a play on words. I am learning that a few people have to figure that one out.
yeah. And Kenny, I'm one of them because we're a little bit slow here. So it's Grayt Media. Okay, I see what you've done there. I think it's probably just the way it's written in my notes, to be fair. So you and your team, it says here, are passionate about helping businesses find their one-of-a-kind message. We're going to today talk, you're hopefully going to provide us with some insights. No pressure. You might want to make a list of the things that we're expecting. Provide some insights on how to create unique, creative strategies that produce effective results to help scale revenues, build brand awareness, and enhance the user experience whilst getting all of that whilst getting the highest return on investment. That is no small
It's a
order.
mouthful. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Facebook. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about e-commerce, all that good stuff. Kenny, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from sunny Orlando, Florida.
Thanks for having
How are
me.
we doing today?
You know what? It is sunny, but we are in the 30s today, so it's not as sunshine and warm as it normally is. I know that's different for
Now,
everyone else, but still a little cold
yeah.
for us.
Okay, now help me out here because I live in a country that talks in centigrade, not Fahrenheit. So what's 30 degrees Fahrenheit? Is that 32 is freezing, right?
Yeah, it's pretty cold.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Okay.
getting if we were a little more north, there's potential to snow, but yeah, we got enough sunlight and everything here. It's very unlikely it's going to happen in Florida. Maybe if you were
Oh,
to
wow.
go a little north to Georgia, I know a lot of people are getting snow right now, but it's chilly. It's right there about to be a freeze. We got to cover some plants, run
Oh,
some
wow.
water.
Wow. Well, you have my sympathies. The same temperature here, if I'm honest with you. It's just about freezing today. But we just don't have the sunshine. We have the grey. So,
Nah, makes
well,
a
we've got,
difference.
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I can imagine. And are you sort of, what's the word from someone who's from Orlando? Is there a special name? Orlandanian? I don't know. I'm just
Yeah,
making
I
this
don't
up.
think it would be, city centric. I would say I'm a Floridian, so
Okay.
we kind of
And
just
have
compass it
you,
all with the state.
okay. It's a Floridian. Okay. Because in Liverpool, where I am at the moment, the phrase is Scouser. Are you a Scouser? Which is what you would call someone local
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we
here.
don't have any fun terms yet.
You need to make one up. That should
I
be a
know.
first tall order.
For us,
Have
it's
you,
usually just like Florida man or something like that, which is it's not always the best light in the media. So
yeah. Okay. We can definitely create something much more interesting, I'm sure.
yeah.
Anyway, that's not the purpose of this podcast. The reason I was are you born and bred Florida? Are you an import? What's your story?
So I have a lot of family up in New York and New Jersey. I was originally born in upstate New Jersey, and we moved down to Florida when I was like a year old. So I pretty much grew up in Central Florida. Originally Ocala, which is horse capital of the world, very big deal. Really meaning there's just a bunch
Sure. I'll
of
take your word for
yeah,
it.
sure. It's beautiful out there, just a little bit more slow than most cities.
Mm.
And then yeah, I've been in Orlando for about 10 years or so now.
Wow. Okay. And so I have to be honest with you. My default Orlando is Disney World, right? That's
It is
just
to everyone, and in that
yeah,
is
yeah.
it's not even Orlando. That's like Kissimmee. It's a little more south of where you would consider Orlando city limits, or
Hmm.
it's just one of those places where you got so many different neighborhoods. It's really spread out.
Hmm.
So yeah, Disney's probably 30, 40 minutes away. We're not big park people. We don't really tend to go over there. It's a lot of tourists, a lot of crazy minivans driving on the highway.
Yeah, yeah.
It's fun every once in a while, but man, the prices over there have just gotten crazy. So even then, it's like unless we're getting some free tickets, it's like we can wait.
Yeah. We can wait. I like that. Yeah. And it just, I mean, that was the last time I was in Orlando. Actually, we went to Disney World and Universal, so that was, I guess, about 10 years ago.
It is really
Um,
fun every once in a while, too, especially if you have a family and if
mm.
you've never been. I mean, it's beautiful. They do a really good job, just even down to the landscaping, walking around. It's so manicured over there.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It is
Yeah,
very
it's unbelievable.
magical. I'll give
Yeah, it
everyone
is.
that.
Yeah, and they like you say, they do a good job. Unbelievable, especially for younger kids.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, obviously you're not involved with Disney, but you are in Orlando and you run Grayt Media, not Grayt Media, but Grayt Media.
Right.
And how long have you been doing that?
So Grayt Media has been around for about a year and a half now.
Okay.
So long story short, I'll try and keep it brief. I kind of got into the digital space with NBC Sports at the Golf Channel. Learned a few things there. Then got a job with a smaller agency where I started media buying. Then I started doing email, SMS, building out websites. Basically, I just wanted to learn more and more, take on more of the projects. Eventually, I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to break off and do some freelancing. I made a couple connections, had some referrals. It let me branch out, gave me a little freedom, and then business was good. Things just kept rolling in, and eventually, I'm sure anyone in the digital space can relate, where you get to a point where you have to be in the business every single day. You're watching all the numbers, so now I'm just like, all right, this is like impossible to live a life. So let's start building a team. So now I'm training my own media buyers. We got copywriters, working with other teams for creative, partnerships with other agencies. Basically, trying to diversify and not just have me as the sole only button clicker. So
Yeah.
yeah, a little more of a
It's
boutique agency right now, but we're growing little by little, and we're
it.
landing some great contracts. And I'm just excited for everyone on my team to kind of see the growth.
No, it's interesting you talk about that as a journey, and I see this a lot where you start out doing something over here, you then go freelance or self-employed, or you start out on your own little venture, and it starts to work, it starts to get successful, and actually you then start to build out. And I've always found my history in my e-commerce businesses, some of the best agencies to employ are actually the freelancers who are just at that point where they maybe need to start hiring people
Oh yeah.
because they've proven they can do it. They're enjoying some success, but their prices aren't crazy. Do you
That's
know what
what
I
I
mean?
was
And
about to
it's
say. I was like, I think
yeah,
few people got in with me at a value buy, and now it's like we
mm,
have to revisit it. And I'm just looking at all the numbers, and I'm like, man, I seriously, undervalued what I was providing for that brand.
mm,
But no, you're right. And then it's also based off of work. So sometimes you're like, I'll take that fee because I have a system down for this one, and we only work on it like 1 day a week, and it's performing,
mm.
really well. So that's a tough one to figure out and to get your pricing right too.
Yeah. No, it's just this the freelancer's dilemma, isn't it? How much do I charge? I must have about one phone call a week from somebody freelancing going, "How do I know what to charge, Matt?" And it's a really interesting problem. But it's great. I mean, the business is going. It's great. You're obviously involved in media, doing something right to have to employ people. And you, for me, the test whenever you come to an agency, one of the tests is how many. What's your team like? Where are you on this curve? What's the pricing like? But how many customers do you have that have stayed with you? That for me is one of the big key tests of an agency. Getting customers is one thing. Getting
Oh yeah.
customers to stay with you is something entirely different, right? Um, and so repeat customer always a good thing when you're looking at agency. That said, this is not a podcast on how to run an agency. But if you run an e-commerce business, there's some things to definitely look at when choosing an agency to work with, because you will be working with agencies running an e-commerce business. I have no doubt. That said, right now, one of the things that you mentioned or alluded to when you were self-employed and it was just you were the guy checking the numbers all the time. And this is one of those things when it comes to like Facebook and social media ads and Google ads and all that sort of stuff. I've heard people mention this a couple of times, and it's probably worth digging into a little bit. Is it worth saying, Kenny, right here at the start, that when you come to do these kind of ads, if you're doing it yourself, which a lot of people do if they're starting out, it's not a case of you can set it and leave it. I heard you talk about constantly monitoring the numbers. Is that like one of the key, what's the word I'm looking for? One of the key principles if you're going to run your own ad campaigns is you've got to get your head around the fact you're going to have to watch it on a regular basis.
You know what? That's a really tough point, and there's a few principles, especially when it comes to media buying and you're doing paid advertising. You definitely want to know your numbers, and you want to really know how to interpret those numbers. So reading the
Mm,
data is huge. That's a big thing that my mentors at the Golf Channel helped me out with, because We do a lot of reporting and basically, what's your source, your medium, what do the numbers tell you, all the way from impressions to your click-through rate to your CPM, like how much are you paying for traffic? Because, at the end of the day, it is a traffic game. You built a store, you need to get people there. You got to make sure you're getting the right people into your store. So those little metrics and being able to read those are going to be huge. And then anybody who knows anything about media buying, they're going to say, you want those people who are managing in your business and spending those thousands of dollars to, where's the money going? Do you have everything set up correctly? You might notice an error, even if it's you, it might be me. Like, we're all really great at what we do, but people still make mistakes. So, you might set something up to launch at 9 p.m. Then you check the next morning, the numbers aren't exactly what you're thinking. So then you start to, dig into however you set up your campaign structure. And you're like, I forgot to check off this demographic. And this is kind of what I was going for. So it might be little things like that. But yeah, you might be looking day to day. But the other side of that is you also want to launch your campaigns and you want to give them time to develop, to grow and learn with the AI on whatever platform that you're using. And a big thing that we always say is, whatever's going on this week isn't going to be the same as the next week or the next week after that. So,
Sure.
just looking at data from one Monday isn't going to tell you how Mondays perform. You need to build up a giant data set just to, okay, on Mondays, this type of demographics normally doing this. They are either more likely or less likely to engage, but that's going to take time. So you kind of need to just kind of step back, let the numbers roll in. And now with all the tracking issues, you don't even know if you're getting conversions right away unless you have maybe a third party system working, maybe some UTM parameters, maybe some custom script, but even that's not like 100% solution. So you might want to really just get a little granular sometimes, but you don't want to stress over it either.
Okay. So I've got lots there, lots of notes already. You can see me scribbling away. If you're listening to the podcast, by the way, and you're like, what is a UTM? What is a click-through? Well, we're going to get into that a little bit, and we'll explain these terms as we go along. But I thought it's an interesting comment there, Kenny. You're talking about these sort of different things that you need to do. You've got to know the data. You've got to monitor those numbers, but you've also got to give it time to develop and grow your paid media campaigns for the AI to sort of have an effect, I guess. And then you obviously talked about tracking issues, which, unless you've not, been on the web for the last 6 months, tracking issues, I assume you're talking about like the iOS changes for Facebook
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that sort of stuff that sort of kicked. Yeah. Okay. So I guess a question I like to ask when we talk about marketing, and obviously you're very clear on sort of the Facebook side of things, of paid social. I guess, should I, it's a basic question, but should I still be considering Facebook advertising in the advent of iOS changes and the tracking problems that we have at the moment? Or should I just be like abandoning it and finding other routes?
I wouldn't say abandoned, but it's still one of those top platforms. People are, maybe more on Instagram now versus Facebook, but people are still using all of those networks. So I wouldn't say abandoned, but maybe diversify. You might want to go for an omnipresence approach. Instead of putting 90% of your budget into Facebook, because 4 or 5 years ago you could, launch your campaigns and get decent conversion rates, a great return on ad spend. So your money was well spent. It was worth it. Now you might want to dabble more in Google for your retargeting, for try and fill in those search queries that users are going to be entering. It really depends on your brand, your niche. So in some cases, TikTok might be a great play, but a lot of these are going to be a big brand awareness play. And what I'm actually seeing is really big right now is messaging, your email, your SMS, getting that hard data. And being able to communicate with them, provide some value, and then get them to convert with something they've already signed up for. So you already got them to make a small yes by signing up for your email or your SMS. So I'm just providing more value of something that you already asked for. And we can actually hold that data and we can retarget heavily because you gave me your phone number, your name, and your email, that's really what took the biggest hit with all of these tracking issues. It's your bottom of the funnel audiences, your website visitors, people add to cart. You can't do your abandoned cart sequence through your ad mediums as easily as you used to be able to. So you might only be getting 30% of that audience. And what everyone's seeing lately is that's really just not going to cut it.
Mm-hmm. So, so has the way you do Facebook, I mean, diversify, which is great, but the way you talked about Facebook advertising, then I get the impression maybe that you've changed the methodology. So before, the way you would do it before is probably different to the way you would do it now. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah, you would definitely be always going for conversions previously, which we still are for the most part, but maybe the ad creative might reflect something that might be more, entertaining or educating. Just the whole idea when you're running those ads is you don't want to interrupt the user's experience on that platform. That's what Facebook wants. That's what users want, and at the end, that's what you as a business will want. Because
Mm-hmm.
same idea when you're watching television. When the commercials come on, you're immediately checked out.
Mm-hmm.
Unless what I am noticing, they're using, if there's a big show or a lot of a very popular cast, they're starting to use them in advertisements. So you kind of get tricked for a second. You're like, oh, is this, part of the programming? 10 seconds in, you realize it's an advertisement, but you're already invested. It's more
Mm-hmm.
entertainment centric. So same idea with the news feed, whether it be Facebook or Instagram or especially on TikTok. You need to, make TikToks, don't make ads.
Yeah.
So it's just, as people are scrolling, you have to remember you got about 3 seconds to make an impression and get your point across, or they're already going to be swiping right past you.
Yeah. So if that's the case, which I get, and I understand, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on TikTok. As a user, I don't particularly want to leave that platform to go and do something else because you've interrupted me. So that people are now making, they're coming up with different concepts, different ideas, aren't they, for me to engage with? You mentioned the adverts there, TikTok type videos. What are some of the effective strategies that I can employ as a business user, that are good ad strategies at the moment? You mentioned entertainment. Maybe dig into that a bit more, or dig into one or two others.
Yeah, one of the big things we're using, and I'm seeing a lot of brands use, is more, user generated content. And that doesn't mean you have to
Hmm.
go and get micro influencers or big influencers. You don't need to be paying these large price tags. But basically, something that feels like your creative should feel more native to the platform. So, again, we're seeing all these memes, we're seeing these, statistics, or, something that's like if you're into sports, like a sportscast, little clips like that that'll really grab your attention right away. Or if
Hmm.
it's like product or service centric, it might just be the quality might be just from someone's phone going through the website, showing you how it works, and less. I don't know, maybe less of a corporate clean approach, less Disney, as we were talking about before, less manicured, and more just like, hey, I'm just an average person, and this is how I'm using it. And
Yeah.
then you might also use little snippets of whatever trend might be going around. So, I mean, I think TikTok, browsing around on there is a really, good resource just to kind of see what everyone's doing and what everyone's
Mm.
accustomed to. Because if you hop on those trends really quickly, then people are like, okay, what's your version of this trend? What's your version? 10 seconds into it, you're like, oh, your version of it is an advertisement, and you already got them. So
Mm.
it's just another touch point. It's a level of brand awareness, and you provided a little entertainment. So, you got your name out there, and that's the whole point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really useful. You mentioned user generated content, which we've talked about a fair bit recently on the show. But you mentioned that you don't have to go to the extent of, or the expense of micro influencers. So how would you get that user generated content?
Well, you can always outsource it to an agency like us. You
Mm.
could always just make it yourself, order the product yourself. Give it your best shot. Obviously, some of these creators do a really good job. They have like the right octave, the right pacing. They really understand how to make these viral videos, if you will.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we've used some where I might just send some to one of our account managers, and she'll just record stuff how she sees fit. So
Mm.
sometimes just letting it be a little bit more natural and organic actually might work out in your favor versus, I need a whole studio production here. We got to time everything
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I've noticed that, I've noticed, a lot of the ads I'm seeing now are, I call them the selfie ads. Do you know what I mean? They're, or low production. It's like, I've got my phone, I'm going to hold my phone out here, or do you know what I mean? Something,
Hmm.
it's not polished, it's not slick. I've not got a big studio, I've not got perfect lighting. And actually, I'm noticing them more and more. And it seems to be that the conversion of those is more and more effective.
Mm-hmm.
And is it because then that they're tying into that sort of social media feed? You don't feel like you're being interrupted as much. It's sort of
Exactly.
consistent with where you're viewing the message, which actually makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Actually, if I'm on Facebook or if I'm on Instagram, create content that feels like I'm on Instagram and people will engage with it. Why have we? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Why has it taken us so long to figure that out? Well, it sounds remarkably intuitive to me, but it seems like I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
As a brand over the years, I guess we've tried to do bigger, better, and all that sort of stuff, and we've missed this simple principle. Why? Any insight as to why we would do that?
I think it might have something to just do with everyone wanting to be famous on social media and these trends building. So you kind of get, I mean, we're based off of, the masses of what's going on these platforms, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, we're just seeing more and more people put in their best version, and that creates more competition. What I've noticed, some of these creators are putting out really funny or educating content where, they can compete with the big dogs. Some
Hmm.
people might choose to spend their hour of free time scrolling on some of these social media platforms versus whatever new D-list shows coming out on Netflix these
Yeah,
days.
yeah,
It's just like, no, these guys are doing a great job here, so I'll just stick to
yeah.
that.
That's a really interesting point because I think I noticed myself actually every now and again. Don't get me wrong; it's not every day, but every now and again, if I'm having like a lazy Saturday morning, I can lose an hour on TikTok and not even realize that I've lost an hour on TikTok.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm just drawn into that whole platform or even Instagram, and it's fascinating how even me, someone who's been around a little while, is starting to use these platforms as a source of entertainment now rather than like you
Hmm.
say, going to the big sort of polished place. I remember, Kenny, maybe it's different for you. When I grew up, there were 3 channels on TV. I'm showing my age now. The 3 channels. You actually physically had to get up and press a button if you wanted to change that. You had to walk across the room to change the channel. And now with
Heaven
I mean,
forbid.
yeah, it's just wrong on so many levels. It's almost, how dare it? But now with so much choice coming in, it still seems to me that emerging out of it are still 1 or 2 platforms that are doing really well,
Hmm.
like TikTok, like Instagram, and we are now using these channels where entertainment is a matter of seconds rather than a matter of hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think each platform kind of serves its purpose, and I think everybody, they have their own purpose for using it, right? Like
Mm,
Facebook, I personally use it for, the groups, the community, staying in touch with family. I'm not really out there to, scroll through the feed and read everyone's
mm.
political opinion. So I tried to clean that list. And then on Instagram, I'm, looking at memes. I'm looking at, the, sports people that I might follow, a little bit more of an entertainment value, and then any close friends of any type of sharing.
Mm.
Please don't overshare. We don't need that many photo collages. But
Amen.
and
Amen.
then
I'm with you,
uh,
brother. I'm with you.
and then another piece of all of it, like I'm seeing that all of these platforms are kind of forming their own micro communities or
Mhm,
sub communities. Kind of, I mean, almost like a Reddit, but a little bit more flashy.
mhm,
But especially you go on Instagram or TikTok, you could just search garden. You're gonna find millions of videos about gardening, tips on taking care of your plants,
mhm,
cooking, hardware, automobiles, almost anything. So there's all these
mhm.
sub communities inside of these platforms where people can engage, and then that's where the algorithm comes into play to really cater it to interests that are going to peak to that individual user.
Mhm. Yeah, no, very much so. Brilliant. Okay, don't go anywhere. Kenny and I will be right back to carry on our conversation about all of this, how to do this marketing thing effectively on social media, right after we've heard from this week's show sponsors.
Hey there, are you a business owner? Here at Aurion Digital, we know firsthand that running an e-commerce business can be really hard work. As the online space gets more competitive, it is becoming even more challenging to stay ahead of the curve. We totally get it. So we want to help you succeed by offering a wide range of services, from fulfillment, marketing, customer service, and even coaching and consulting, just so that you can do what matters most. Save yourself the time and the money and let us handle the day-to-day tasks. This way, you can run your business without having to worry about the boring stuff. So what do you say? Are we a good fit for each other? Come check us out at oriondigital.com and let us know what you think.
Did you know that nutrition is one of the keys to maintaining the energy you need to drive your business forward? Vegetology creates incredible, unique supplements in an eco-friendly, ethical, and sustainable way that feed your body with the precise nutrients it needs. We're not just making you healthier, we're helping to protect our planet too. Our products are vegan friendly and approved by the Vegan and Vegetarian Society. Plus, they're gluten-free, so they fit perfectly into any lifestyle. They also contain no artificial colours or flavours, making them good for your taste buds too. You can feel good about your food choices with our healthy, natural supplements. We have something for everyone, whether you want to boost your immune system or just get more energy every day. And we're always working on new ingredients so that we can provide even better products in the future. So what are you waiting for? Get started now by heading over to vegetology.com.
So, Kenny, before the show sponsors, we were talking about the type of content and making sure that the content that we use in our paid media is relevant for the platform that we're marketing on. If it's a case of before, the changes and a year or two ago, we would, I guess, promote a product, right? So we would just go, this is a product, it's $30, buy it, click here.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still do that kind of advertising, or is it a case of actually we're changing our ads slightly, and so the purpose of our ads or the mechanism is slightly different now?
I definitely think there's more competition, and you need to maybe, not to be rude, just apply a little bit more thought in your process as you're creating your campaigns. So you have a product or
I don't think that's rude. I think that's sensible.
Yeah, it's just that they should always be like that. But yeah, you're right. About 6 years ago, you could just be like, "Hey, I got this, protein powder. You want to try it?" And for whatever reason, people were just buying everything off of, Facebook ads. But yeah, now when you kind of figure out your product, your service, whatever you're trying to, put your name out there for, try and really narrow in on, what is the problem and what solution does your product or your service provide. And then you want to try, different angles, whether it be fun, whether it be, I don't always love fear mongering, but you might want to, you don't want to miss out on this, or, you might want to play like a health angle. Just really, you want to test all those different reasons why somebody is going to buy your product. And, you want to keep it simple, but in some cases, you might have an apparel brand. Like we're working with this one apparel brand. He's a big fitness influencer. There's not a huge angle there. Do you like wearing t-shirts? We're not going to use that in our headline. It's just more like, hey, this is this guy's brand. This is a fitness company. You can pick Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, all that, or you could support this other smaller influencer who's very heavily involved in this fitness community, and then that has slowly built over time. So that's something where we use Facebook, Instagram, Google. Probably going to start TikTok this year. We're just kind of moving budgets around and kind of getting the back end situated, and we've pretty much have gone from spending $200 to $300 a day to now $2,000 to $3,000 a day, but we still have a 6 times return on ad spend, if not more. We grew that email list from 30,000 to about 120,000. So every time we send an email or an SMS, we're easily seeing like a $200,000 day. And that one, we just keep it very simple. There's not too many crazy tactics. There's just maybe a few things on the back end, kind of building that list, product testing, and then coming out with recurring products, especially like apparel. Don't rely on selling that same t-shirt over and over and over. You have to have fresh stuff. That's even comes back to when I used to work in the mall and retail. We would get boxes of new clothes every week. There'd be something new for people to buy. And then when units aren't moving, you move them over to the clearance. You're gonna, more than break even just because those margins are great.
Sure.
But it's being really dialed into those numbers, seeing what's moving, continuing to test. And that's how we kind of got them from doing $100,000, $200,000 months, and now we're easily doing 1.5 million in gross revenue every month.
Which is incredible, really. I mean, he must be stoked.
I mean, it's great for him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not a bad problem to have, is it? I guess so when it comes to then the campaigns that you're doing and you're working on those campaigns and the audiences that you're targeting. So I get that if somebody has purchased from me before, I can show them in an ad, maybe through remarketing, the latest, newest t-shirt, right? And as my audience grows, I can text them, I can, SMS them, I can send them messages, I can send them emails, I can use retargeting ads to sort of show them new stuff and get them engaged that way. What do you do though, if you're just starting out, right? And you've not got 20, 30,000 on your email list, you're sort of starting from scratch. What sort of audiences and ad strategies should I be thinking about, which helps me build up to where I need to be?
Yeah, if you're just starting out, maybe you have a smaller budget. Obviously, like I said before, you want to try and go omnipresence route. If you can get on all platforms, that's great. It's not going to work out for everybody, and that's okay, because even just Facebook alone, it's still a great place just to start building your audience, start getting brand awareness. There's still a ton of users on there, so it's
Mhm.
still a great platform to test all of your angles and just kind of see what's going to get you bites on there. And then for content, you might not be going straight for the purchase. Maybe you provide more value or educational content at first. You get a couple blogs put together, and if you don't want to write them, honestly, you can find a freelancer to do it for like $5 or $10. They can,
Mhm.
you can throw a few things at them, they'll rewrite it. You just have to structure it out on a page. If you're not a big developer, you can use something like ClickFunnels or Zipify, and
Mhm.
those are really easy page builders. So yeah, first you want to build the audience, you want to provide value, you want to start building those lists up. So really strong front offer. You might be offering discounts at first. Just keep in mind you're going to eventually start pulling back on those. You don't want to train people
Yeah.
to get discounts. So your first campaigns might be like, here's 5 reasons why you might want to go on the keto diet. We've done a few things for that for a couple keto snack brands. Usually always gets a really great click through rate. So now you're already audience building, you're getting your name out there. We might be doing something, a little more educational, like this is what's in your normal snack foods every day if you're used to eating chips or snack cakes. And
Mhm.
here's what this product has: almost no sugar. And this is why sugar's bad for you. So basically, kind of
Mhm.
holding their hand through the journey, teaching them a little bit about something, and hey, actually have a product that's going to solve that problem for you that you didn't even know you had.
Mhm. So the educational content, so the 5 steps to why keto is the best diet on the planet, or whatever it is. I'm not saying that keto is the best diet on the
Yeah,
planet, by the way.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But this might be the content that you put out there. So I'm creating an ad with that, 5 steps to everything you need to know about the keto. That ad's purpose and the whole, I define success on that ad by how many people it sends through to my website, right? So I'm starting to build that
Yeah,
brand
you might not
awareness.
be looking at conversions for that particular campaign, so just know what your efforts are and what you're going for your objectives. So that one,
Mhm.
in this case, like an educational audience builder type campaign, you're kind of looking for more type of really great engagement metrics. Basically, how many link clicks, your CPMS, which is pretty much how much did it cost to make
Sorry, when you say
1,000 impressions.
CPM, just explain what
So yeah,
CPM is.
CPMS are pretty much the rate your ad to reach 1,000 impressions. So impressions, you can make multiple impressions on people. You can only reach people once.
Hmm.
So impressions might have a higher frequency. So you might hit the same person a few times. So that's just kind of like a general metric they follow.
Hmm.
So basically, that's a good traffic indicator. So say your CPM is over $100, that's going to be really expensive to reach all of those people. So either
Hmm.
your targeting's off, your creative's off, or maybe Facebook just hates your ad account and your landing
Hmm.
pages. So all little levers that you have to kind of go down the list and try and edit.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, your click through rate, so how many impressions you get and how many people actually click on your link, that's going to be huge. You want those to be, way above average, because you're not going for conversions, you're not going for, straight to shopping. It should be an easy click, honestly. It's a blog. It's
Hmm.
what people are. I'm on there to be entertained. I'm providing entertainment. So if you're getting a really low click through rate, it's pretty easy to say, all right, this isn't what people want to read. So easy
Yeah.
test, it's done after that. And then,
Yeah.
your CPC, your cost per click. How much are you paying? It's a good indicator if your targeting and your creative are on or if they're off.
So you've drawn people into the website with some educational content. You understand clearly what the objective of that ad is. And what are some of the things that people should also think about? Because a lot of people will just leave it there. But are there things that we should then think about on the website? I mean, the obvious thing to me Kenny, is I really want that person to give me their email address, right? So what are some of the things that I should be thinking about, some of the strategies that I should be thinking about on site if I'm using paid media to promote educational content?
Yeah, no, that's huge. Especially you're already spending money to get people on your website, so you want to give your best first impression, especially since
Mhm.
cold traffic is huge right now compared to retargeting. So, I mean, before we even get to the pop up, you want to make sure that your website is actually well manicured and it's up to standards because
Mhm.
everyone's used to shopping on huge websites like Amazon. So your
Yeah.
shopping experience already has like a standard, whether you realize it or not. So if you were to go to another website and you get to their checkout and it just doesn't feel right, you're usually sometimes you're going to back out and you're just like, I don't want anyone to steal my information or my credit card or anything like that. So it's important to have, every fine detail on your website. You don't want Laura Mepsum text anywhere on your website and it feel incomplete.
I still see it today. I still see
It
it.
happens. I think it's happened to me too, but
Mhm.
practice what you preach. But
Yeah.
but it's like an indicator where people can pick up on that because we're people are conditioned now. People have been online for a long time, so they know what to expect. So
Mhm.
you can't get one over on them as easy as you
Mhm.
used to. So first of all, that user experience, yeah, you want to make sure it's well put together. Your brand is right out there in front. A great shopping experience, basically. But yeah, for the pop up, basically, you don't want to be too pushy. I would say don't ask for too much information right away. You're good
Mhm.
with either just get the email. That's fine. Maybe ask for a first name. If you're not going for email, maybe go for the SMS or the phone number.
Mhm.
And then it doesn't always have to be a discount. You could always do like a PDF, like a free workout guide, a free health guide. Um, really, I mean, a free guide almost anything. I'm going to say the only thing it almost doesn't apply to is apparel unless you're into a certain niche. But
Mhm.
basically, you can provide free content. Other than that, you offer 10, 15, 20% off, whatever makes sense that
Mhm.
doesn't hurt your margin. I would
Mhm.
say if you're going the percentage route, you definitely want to make sure that you have like a recurring order type product or service. Because if it's just one and done and you're just offering a discount, then you're just giving someone a discount and they're going to be gone. So if you're doing like
Yeah.
supplements or apparel, you want them to get past that threshold, make a conversion with you, build up that trust and loyalty. So the margins might be a little tighter on the front end that first purchase, but over time, as they are worked into your email and your ecosystem and they keep getting hit with your ads, they're going to keep spending money. They won't always have discount codes. So then that lifetime value of the customer continues to grow. So kind of
Mhm.
similar to what I was saying with the fitness apparel brand. Over time, those lists grew. So now every time that we have a new drop or something new is happening and we can promote it to them, we see a huge turnout, great conversions, huge gross revenue day every time.
Mhm. That's really interesting. The I've seen the content strategy work very well, and this is true for e-commerce businesses as well, especially if you're selling high-end or repeatable products that maybe other people haven't tried, like a keto snack bar, for example. Educating people around keto is probably not a bad idea, or 5 things you wish you knew about keto. They go to your website, there's a pop-up which says, listen, download our free guide to everything keto and get 10% off your first
Mm-hmm.
order, or whatever it is. And then that's a great way to sort of send cold traffic to build your email list, and then you onboard them with emails and sequences and all that sort of stuff, and you play a bit of a long game, but it can work quite well um, for e-commerce businesses. Is there still a place to try just here's my product, buy it now kind
I
of
was just about to
ads?
say, know what you're selling, know how people are going to be shopping for it, because you don't always need to play an angle. You don't need to provide blogs because, people aren't that dumb. So you
Hmm.
can honestly, at a certain point, especially with apparel, I've realized just like a shopping experience or a carousel of, all of the new clothes that are, maybe relevant to the season or a new drop or maybe
Hmm.
bestsellers, just straight to the point. Sometimes people like that. Just don't try
Yeah.
and get me with a fancy photo shoot. You're not Gucci or anything, so we don't care who's in it. Just show me, the new styles that you've come out. Show me all the new colors, and if I like what I see, I'll click and I'll shop. So
Hmm.
sometimes you just gotta put it right in front of their face, make it easy. Again, it's just kind of simplifying the whole experience. It's not that
Yeah.
people don't want to see ads. It's just if they they want to see something that they're interested in, and they don't want to have to jump through all these hoops. So if you're just doing like a carousel with a few of your best sellers from your inventory, sometimes that works best just because it's straight to the point. One company we're working with is car detailing products. Uh, People know what car wash products are. We don't need to try and sell it that hard. Maybe why we're better than the competitor, but hey, this is what it is. If you want to come check it out and you have interest in that, you'll come check it out and shop just because you're the new kid on the block. I kind of want to see what you got.
Yeah. No, it's the bottom line then is test, right? Throw a few things out there and see what happens, and test all of them. And actually, again, my experience here for what it's worth with my own e-commerce websites is you want to do all of these.
Yeah.
You don't just want to pick one, and you want to test them, and sometimes one works well, and then do you know what I mean? And like you say, it ebbs and flows, isn't it? And things
Right.
change,
And then you
sort of
don't even
progress.
realize one helps out the other. For example, you run Facebook, Instagram, Google, and TikTok. Facebook and Instagram, great brand awareness, great audience building. TikTok, not as many conversions as the rest, but still really good clicks, great brand awareness, great views. And then on Google, you might have very strong retargeting because it's still the most used platform, and that's what people are searching. The biggest flow for a user is I see it on social media, and then you go and Google it. I want to learn more about this product because now I'm interested in what are the other options out there, what are the other brands. So having your SEO dialed in, or having your retargeting search branded campaigns dialed in are going to be huge because you want to stay relevant. It counts as another touch point. I see your video on TikTok or users using your product. That's a touch point. Now I get hit with an ad providing a little bit more content on Facebook, another touch point. Now I go and Google it, and now you're right there at the top of the search results. Now you already have 3 touch points.
So this is where you have to think of your marketing activity in multiple channels, don't you? Sort of in terms of your outreach.
Yeah, because you could turn one off and then the other fails. So that's one thing where you're like, well, Google's great. We'll just keep Google on. But then it starts to decline. But the only reason Google is doing well because you were getting a ton of reactions and engagement on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned a couple of times about how I can remarket or in effect show you the same ad more than once. And this, I think, is an interesting thing which has come out more recently that or people talk about more recently is I don't know if you've got any specific benchmarks which you follow. Like if I'm selling, I have sunglasses on my desk. I don't know why I have sunglasses on my desk because it's definitely not the summer. But if I'm selling sunglasses, how many times should I be showing you my ad before I go, actually, Ken is really not interested? Because it's not just once, right?
Oh yeah, no. So let's say you have a decent CPC. You're not paying too much for clicks. Your CPM, your cost to reach thousands of people is pretty low. So basically, all of your engagement in platform metrics look pretty good, but no one is biting. So at that point, we might even take a step back. We might look at how much we have spent. So then you might try and see, it might be a creative issue, it might be a targeting issue, but generally once we spend about 3 to 5 times the price of that product, we pretty much say that test is done, especially if there's no results. We're just like, we gave it a fair shot, it ran through, the system, hit enough people, we didn't even get any add to carts or conversions, then, your targeting's off, you might need to try some new creative. If you feel strong about the creative and you don't think that's the problem, just because, for example, this one, sunglasses, those are pretty straightforward. We know what they are. We know what they do. So you don't really need to play too many angles there. So then it's like, we might just be reaching the wrong people. It's just, you want to go from each level from, your creative to targeting to maybe even your budget and system. So it might be a time of the year thing. There's some people who run e-com stores only during, the Christmas season, just because, people are buying all types of random things just to fill up stockings and for presents or get, random gifts, which they normally wouldn't perform well throughout the rest of the year. So there's no point in running them.
One of the interesting things that I think I've picked up over the years is you take something like Black Friday, which is obviously a big sort of sales period for most online businesses, right? It's like, okay, well, everyone knows what Black Friday is, and everyone's in a buying mood at sort of this point, right? And I see a lot of businesses just sort of coming out and going, right, well, it's Black Friday. I'm now going to start running some paid ads. But it seems to me that whilst it makes sense to try and promote at that point in time, um, it makes sense to maybe start that process a whole lot sooner, because you've got to build your cold audiences. You've got to know, what's working, what's not working. And Black Friday is insanely competitive for ads. So you want to sort of work all this stuff out ahead of time. Is that a fair strategy? I mean, I'm just thinking, the reason I'm asking is you mentioned the store that maybe just sells around Christmas. I'm just thinking, would they just run ads at Christmas, or would they run ads at different parts of the year to try and get their Christmas ads to work
No, that's a
better?
good question, and it comes up every year with almost every brand because people are maybe a little shy to spend, but pretty much like you're saying, no, it's not going to be a good strategy if you just go and run ads during like a holiday or a peak season, because that's what a
Mm,
lot of brands are doing, and they already have their most of the time they have their whole system and back end dialed in. So pretty much your CPCs, basically the cost to reach all of your traffic during these peak sales and seasons, it's just going to go up naturally because there's more competition and there's only
mm,
so many users, there's only so many placements they can do. So like you were just saying, you want to start way ahead of time. So honestly, we didn't even spend as much with most of our brands this past Christmas, just because we saw the costs keep rising, the tracking issues. So what it really came back down to was email and SMS, because we own that data. We already have a
mm,
relationship with them. And then you also got to think, like, people are out doing stuff for the holidays. Maybe it's a little different now with the lockdowns and everyone's sick,
mm,
but it's always a little different. So instead of just trying to hope they stop on your feed and interrupt their entertainment scrolling, we're going right into their inboxes or right into their text messages. So we have like a
mm,
direct line to them, like, hey, you already signed up for this. We have something that you want. It's on sale. So those performed really well. But yeah, you want to be building
mm.
throughout the whole year. Some people might be breaking even every month, and then you're going to make all of your net profit there in Q4, just depending on what you
Yeah.
sell and if you have your back end dialed in and what products you're offering. So it all kind of works together. So it's not like you can focus just on one piece and or just rely on one channel or one product. So
Mhm,
you want to kind of diversify. You want to kind of offer a variety. A lot of it is funny because it comes back to the retail days. It's just kind of like,
mhm.
what else can you sell to them? How can you get your AOV up? How can you build a good experience? How do you keep them coming
Mhm.
back? Because most times you don't want to rely on just that first front end purchase. The
No.
lifetime value is going to be huge for most brands who are going to make it. Like,
Mm,
I know you brought it up before, but we have a few brands we've been working with for I think 4 years now. And if you don't know, most agency models are around 3 to 6 months, and usually the brand drops off. Maybe they go to another agency. Usually, people start bringing out all the jobs in internally. So I'm really happy with my team and our brands that we've had our clients for about 3 or 4 years, and they're happy with everything, and they're seeing significant growth to where we don't need to hire a bigger, better, whatever might be perceived as a different agency, and we don't need
mm,
to hire internally because we have everything dialed in.
mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I'm intrigued actually where this whole thing's going to go with, with the paid media in terms of audience building and conversion and all that sort of stuff, because the landscape seems to change on a fairly consistent basis. It's the only thing that I can be sure of is that I can't be sure of anything. And so, it's going to change, it's going to develop, it's going to sort of, it's going to grow. Where are some of the sources that you go to sort of stay on top of things? Some of the learnings, are there sites that you look at? Are there blog feeds? Are there YouTube channels? I don't know. Where do you go to stay on top of all the stuff that's happening?
Yeah, it's tough.
Besides the e-commerce podcast,
Of
obviously.
course, of course. Every morning. Of course, besides that, well, first to the first part, you were just saying, where's it going to go? I think the biggest thing people need to realize is, focus on the brand and building it, as your own community, and focus on, delivering a great experience.
Mm,
With so many options being out there and there's just so much competition. You need to, have your customer service dialed in, have the product dialed in. Ads are going to be a part of it, but if you want to go for the long run and not just run some ads and drop ship a few products to try and make a couple bucks, focus on the brand and building out your
mm,
business. The back end is going to be huge. But for where I kind of stay up with trends, it's kind of odd because I've used the platforms to stay up with everything. I follow some of the right people. I'm part of a few groups where I kind of everyone's sharing and exchanging their ideas or what's new. I work with several different agencies where we help each other out and kind of
Hmm.
talk about what we're noticing. I love all the conferences. I love watching all the videos. YouTube is a great resource, no matter for whatever you're trying to learn. If you find the right channels, like Affiliate World Conference, I love all those case studies. And then just kind of getting experimental on your own. If you have the opportunity to be spending money for these clients and testing for these brands, it's an opportunity to get granular, get into the data, and learn for yourself. Because a lot of these big media buyers or people in the digital marketing space, they're doing the same thing and probably figuring out the same techniques and strategies. So by the time you even hear about their case study from like a year ago, it's not even relevant. Most of those old strategies won't work anymore in the new ecosystem inside of Facebook,
Mm.
especially with all the tracking issues. You can't tier everyone as easily from cold to middle to the bottom of the funnel like you could before. So it's more
Mm.
click some. When I tell my staff, I'm like, if I know we have a little bit of budget to work with, I'm telling them to click buttons, click around, change some settings, see what happens. Just I think being experimental and curious is going to help you a lot more.
Mm. Yeah, and just watching the results, right? Measuring them.
Yeah, pretty much.
What gets measured gets managed, etc., etc. So I guess one of my you've mentioned this before a couple of times, and I just want to clarify what you mean with your terminology. Make sure your back end is dialed in. I mean, what do you mean when you say make sure your back end is dialed in?
Oh yeah, everything from on your website to how do you have your categories for your products? What products are you coming out with? And from when you first start to maybe a few years later, the quality might change. So is that being illustrated on the page or demonstrated? In some cases, are your blogs up to date? Are they showcasing? Are they providing more
Hmm.
value to basically keep users on your website longer? Is it easy just to find something as contact us, return refund policy, your terms and conditions, what's your backstory?
Hmm.
So everything going on behind the scenes that doesn't it might just be set and forget for a while.
Mm.
But that your automations from your abandoned cart sequence to your follow up to trying to engage with your unengaged audiences in there. I mean, everything from the whole user experience. So when you get on that website, all of those little menu buttons that we see that are, very polished. And if you're not sure, go to Nike's website, go to Adidas, go to these huge brands that,
Mm.
spend millions of dollars on it and just kind of, you can hack some of their ideas. It's like, this is a great idea. I like that. All right, this
Mm.
is a good idea for the section. Obviously, not word for word, but you can take little pieces of it and just kind of how they
Mm.
establish themselves. And it kind of builds like a subconscious trust as you're on their websites and you're kind
Mm.
of browsing or shopping as a user.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Very good point. Well, listen, Kenny, thank you so much for being with us on the show. It's been a great conversation. I have again lots of notes, lots of things to think about, and I think one of my big takeaways today is actually what you were just talking about at the end there. Make sure everything's joined up because it's not just a case of now you can run an ad, put a PDF download on there, and make a gazillion bucks. You've got to make sure all of these touch points are now connected up, don't you? And they're all working harmoniously together.
Oh,
It's a bit more
absolutely.
complicated, but it's definitely doable.
Right.
Would be my
Well
thing.
put.
So,
And keep
yeah,
it simple. You don't have to go crazy. One of
mm,
those Facebook sayings out at their office is just, done is better than perfect, but, get something done.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Very agile thinking. Get something done. Kenny, listen. How do people connect with you? How do they reach you if they want to connect with either you or the agency with what you're going on there?
Yeah, if
What's the
anybody
best way to
wants
do
to
that?
connect, if anybody needs a little bit of help or some guidance, you can go to graytmedia.com, and that is GRAYT media.com. Again, I'm learning. It's kind of like the color with a T, but yeah, there's a big red button on there. You can schedule a call with me. I can either help out or you can just chat. I'd love to hear anyone's ideas too.
Mhm. And the other problem you've got, of course, is a large portion of our audience is British, and obviously if you're English, you still reach out to Kenny. I'm sure he'd love to talk to you. But we spell Grey differently in the UK.
Of course, yeah, I know. You know what? We talked about that before. Right? So bad reference. So American color gray.
Yeah,
too much explaining enough, already.
Yeah. Just Graty.
Yeah.
Listen, we will put obviously all the links to Kenny's agency, regardless of how you spell it. We will put all the links to Kenny and Kenny's agency in the show notes. We'll have the transcript and all that sort of stuff there. So do head on over to there and check it out. So Kenny, thank you so much for being on the show. Really great to have this conversation. I hope the weather picks up for you in Orlando, that it's not cold too much longer.
I'm sure it's going to pick up fine. It's Florida. We got maybe 2 or 3 weeks of this, and we'll be in the pool in no time.
Yeah, I won't.
And thanks for having me. This was fun. Great speaking with you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kenny. Well, a huge big thanks to my very special guest, Kenny. What did you think to that episode? Wasn't it just jam-packed full of good stuff? And of course, if you're listening to this in the car and you kind of think, I need a way to be able to get access to those notes, Matt, have you got a way? Funnily enough, I have. You can get them for free at our website, ecommercepodcast.net/90 to be able to access all of the notes, the links and the transcript from today's show for free. No email required. Just head on over there and download them and review them at your own pace, because there's a lot of good stuff in there and you're going to want to get those notes. And of course, as I now say at the end of every podcast, if that's not enough for you, we have another fantabulous guest next week. Oh yes, the legendary AJ Davis, who is coming on to talk about the case for conversion rate optimization.
Yeah, I think if you look at customer expectations are changing over time. Their experiences intersecting with other parts of their lives or other stores are changing over time. And so if you are not experimenting, if you're not trying new things, you will be stale. You will become flat. And so if you want to be growing and if you want to stay up on not just the latest and greatest, but the things that actually make it easier for customers, then you've got to be experimenting, because it's not static. It's not one and done. It's not check, I did CRO. CRO is the decision to iteratively approach how your customers experience your site. And so if you're not taking multiple swings at the bat, if you're not stepping up and trying new things consistently with an intent to learn about your customer so you can apply it elsewhere, like that, you just will not succeed as a business in the long run.
You've been listening to the eCommerce Podcast with Matt Edmondson. Join us next time for more interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.